The morning secret successful people have been hiding for decades at some quiet moment in your life. You may have wondered why some people seem to move forward with such clarity, while others, even when trying hard, stay stuck in the same place. Maybe you've watched someone who started from nothing, with no obvious advantages, and now lives with calm, focus, and purpose while you feel like you're always rushing, always trying, always reacting. There is one common detail among these people that is almost never said out loud. Not because it's hard to explain, but because it's too simple to seem powerful. And that's exactly why most people ignore it. The morning secret successful people have applied for decades has nothing to do with waking up early. It has nothing to do with miracle formulas, extreme productivity, or constant sacrifice. It's connected to something far more subtle, deeper, and more transformative: the way they position themselves internally before the world starts demanding anything from them. As you listen to me now, something inside you may already recognize this truth not as a new idea, but as something that's always been there, waiting to be named. There's a clear difference between people who start the day defending themselves from life, and those who start the day creating their own direction. That difference doesn't show up immediately in results. It shows up in their inner state, in their eyes, in the way they speak, in their calm, in their clarity, and over time, inevitably, it shows up in their results. What almost no one tells you, that success rarely comes from big decisions made in epic moments. It comes from the quiet repetition of small internal positions. And the most important one happens every single day, before you even realize the day has begun. In the first few minutes of the morning, when the mind is still open, flexible, without defenses, without filters, without fully formed distractions. In that space, successful people do something most people don't, not because it's hard, but because it requires awareness. Picture how most people start their day. They wake up and almost automatically connect to the outside world. The phone becomes an extension of the body. Messages, news, social media, appointments, problems, demands. Before they even remember who they are, they're already dealing with what the world wants from them. And that creates a very specific mental pattern: reactivity. They don't live the day, they respond to it. They don't choose, they adapt. They don't lead, they defend themselves. And living this way, day after day, creates constant exhaustion, a lack of control, and inner confusion. Not because the person is weak, but because they never took control of the most strategic moment of their mind. Now compare that to the quiet behavior of people who build solid lives over time. They wake up tired sometimes too. They have problems. They face challenges. The difference is that before allowing the world to touch them, they align with themselves. They don't leave their initial mental state to chance. They don't allow fear, rush, or scarcity to be the first thought of the day. They do something that seems simple but changes everything. They position themselves internally before acting externally. That's the secret, and it's not in bestsellers, headlines, or short viral videos. It's passed on more through observation than explanation. But today, right here, you're going to understand exactly how it works and why it's so powerful. In the first minutes of the morning, your mind isn't fully awake, but it's not asleep either. It's in an in-between state, highly receptive. In this state, whatever you think, feel, or affirm carries far more weight than at any other time of the day. It's as if your mind is quietly asking, "Who do I need to be today?" And the answer doesn't come in long sentences, but in sensations, intentions, and in a direction. Successful people understand this even if they've never put it into words. That's why they start the day by assuming an identity, not reacting to a demand. While most people wake up thinking, "What do I need to fix?" they wake up feeling, "Who do I choose to be?" This shift is subtle, but it's exactly what separates those who spend life putting out fires from those who build something consistent over time. You may be starting to realize that the secret isn't doing more, it's aligning better. It's not moving faster, it's walking in the right direction. It's not trying to control everything, it's controlling the one point that truly matters, your initial inner state. There comes a moment when this secret really clicks. That's when you realize your actions throughout the day are a direct result of how you feel internally. A confused mind leads to confused decisions. An anxious mind leads to impulsive actions. A scattered mind leads to procrastination. But an aligned mind creates clarity, and clarity leads to better choices. And better choices, repeated over time, create a different future. Successful people don't wake up motivated every day. That's a myth. What they do is wake up aligned. They don't wait for motivation, they choose direction. They don't wait for inspiration, they take a position. And that position is set early in the day, before distractions have time to take hold. Now pay close attention, because here's a major turning point. The morning secret is not a rigid ritual. It's not a fixed sequence of external actions. It's an internal principle, one that can be applied by anyone, in any reality, in any routine. The principle is simple. Before asking what to do, ask who you need to be today to move closer to the life you want to build. That question changes everything. It shifts your focus, your posture, your energy, your choices. When you start the day from identity instead of urgency, something powerful happens. You stop feeling lost. Even if you don't have all the answers, you know where you're starting from. And that creates inner stability that doesn't depend on external circumstances. You act with more calm, intention, and consistency. You stop living just to solve problems and start living to build something greater. That's the secret almost no one talks about, because it doesn't sell shortcuts. It doesn't promise instant results. It's not flashy. But it works because it operates at the root, not the surface. You might wonder why. If it's so powerful, most people don't do it. The answer is simple and uncomfortable. It requires presence. It requires slowing down in the first minutes of the day, letting go of the addiction to distraction, facing silence. And for many people, silence is uncomfortable because that's where long-avoided truths surface. But that silence is exactly where clarity is born. Over time, successful people learn that morning silence isn't empty, it's fertile. That's where they organize their thoughts, align their emotions, reinforce their values, and remind themselves of what truly matters. Not as a mystical practice, but as internal leadership. Because if you don't lead yourself early in the day, the world will lead you for the rest of it. There's a moment when this secret starts visibly changing your life. You stop reacting the same way to external triggers. Situations that once threw you off balance are handled with maturity. Decisions that used to feel confusing become obvious. You no longer feel pushed by life, you feel like you're walking with it. And that sense of flow becomes noticeable to everyone around you. That's the quiet climax of transformation. Not explosive, not dramatic, but so deep internally that the external world begins to reorganize in response. People treat you differently. Opportunities appear. Paths open not because of luck, but because you changed how you position yourself in life. And all of this begins with one simple secret: taking control of your inner state in the morning. Now imagine what your life could look like if you woke up with this awareness every day. If before any external stimulus, you aligned with who you want to become. If you started the day remembering what you're building instead of focusing on what's missing, waking up with direction, not confusion, with intention, not rush, with clarity, not fear. That version of you already exists. It's not far away. It doesn't depend on massive external changes. It depends on one daily choice, a quiet choice, but an incredibly powerful one, choosing to start the day from the inside. And now we reach the most important point. Knowledge without application changes nothing. You can understand this secret, agree with it, feel inspired by it, but if you don't apply it, everything stays the same. So here's a simple but meaningful invitation. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up, before grabbing your phone, before rushing out of bed, before connecting with the world, pause for a few minutes. Breathe, observe, and ask yourself honestly, who do I choose to be today? Don't answer with pretty words. Answer with truth and let that answer guide your choices throughout the day. If you do this consistently, something will change, not dramatically, but steadily. And consistency is the real secret behind every successful life. Before we end, understand this: successful people aren't hiding this secret out of selfishness. They've lived this way for so long that it feels natural to them. But today, you were given this key. What you do with it is up to you. If this message resonated with you, brought clarity, or awakened something within you, leave a like, comment "I choose to start differently," and subscribe to the channel to keep receiving content that helps you build a life with more awareness, direction, and purpose. Your engagement strengthens this work and allows more people to access messages like this. So comment, subscribe, like, and tomorrow morning, remember, there is a morning secret that changes everything, and now you know it.